So today is going to be Thursday, March 5th. It's Ebola Day. For those of you at home, you have no idea what that means. But I will tell you, I have a packety thing that looks like this that I'm going to be reading out loud to you. So if you don't have it because you're at home, not the end of the world. As long as you listen to my melodic voice, that'll be fine. I can give you paper copy tomorrow if you are really wanting it. There is a homework assignment that goes along with this we'll talk about in a moment. Book reports still due next Friday. Camp Tecumseh stuff is coming due soon. I start making the groups. 9-week assessment we're going to talk in a moment. And glow party. Let's go first. I had kids who for some reason kept asking to see a picture of me with my big beard. 2 years ago, I grew my beard out the longest it had ever gone, which was like full hobo mode. And so I happened to find a picture of it as I was digging through things to find stuff for the glow party. I found me in full hobo mode. So I went ahead and threw a picture up there. Here is where your iPad comes in. Turn on iPad. If you're at home, you're just going to have to, oh wait, I'll move my head at home so you can see, look, hang on. I'll put my head right in the same spot. This is me, normal, me, hobo. Normal, hobo. Okay, and then back to here. So those of you who are playing the live version, I'm going to send you to the page. Those of you playing the home version, go to that page. And it's going to look like this.
Struggling child.
I chose that picture for you guys. So on there, the things you're going to have to do. This is for Monday. I will send you reminds prior to that day. But what you're going to need to do is there's 3 articles. That one, that one, that one. You're going to want to read all 3 articles. And then there is a video down here. So you're going to want to watch video. All of that before Monday. Monday, you are going to be writing an essay where you are comparing the information that is given to you. Can you wait until Monday to do it? Yes. Will you get a good grade? Unlikely, but possible. The being is you're going to spend most of that time probably writing essays. If you're trying to read all of those articles and then watch the video prior, is definitely going to make it a challenge. Also, this is a 9-week assessment, which means it goes in as a double test grade, which means this is going to be one of the bigger things you have to swing your grade. We have this due next week, and we also have a final quiz next week, and that's it as far as being able to impact your grade in my class. We have a whole bunch of grady things coming in. This is a double grade with an essay, and then you're going to have one. It is not a hard essay. If you want to know what you're going to write, it's right there. The third 9 weeks prompt. You can even click on it and find out what you're going to have to say ahead of time. You can't really write it ahead of time because you're going to have to write it in class. But if you want to at least see it, I'm fine with that. It gives you some help to guide you on that one. Then, while you're doing clicky, clicky, looky, looky, let me also talk about Glow Party. If you are interested, this is the party that is coming up next Friday, the one they are selling tickets for at lunch. Over yonder is the shirt you can get that'll pop and glow in the darkness while we are there. The way the glow party works is one, DJ Brovi Beats will be there spinning all the mad rhymes. That is a picture of me at last year's, me spinning my mad rhymes from there. We cover you in glow-in-the-dark paint while you get to dance around in all the black lights, and so you get to look all cool and black lighty and stuff like that. And so we get to play the music, and there's dancing. There's a bunch of like other events off to the side. I never get to do the other events because I'm always DJing the entire time. Because apparently when you're a DJ, the music never stops. And we have like a dance thing in the middle. We've done musical chairs, glow-in-the-dark musical chairs. We've done different events and games, activities. There was me a couple years ago when I had big bushy hobo beard. I painted big bushy hobo beard with glow-in-the-dark paint. This year I believe I'm going to be painting my head. And we're going to try doing it that way with the different paints and sort of see what happens on that one. I like to get creative each year, so I think that's the direction we're going to go this time. So again, it is $15. If you wait till the day of, it's $20. But again, if they sell out, you are out of luck, because I believe they're only selling 150 tickets, and we have sold out every time the last 3 years. Questions as far as that goes? Then, now, go to Socrative and you get to log in. Bad news is it's homework. Good news is it's easy homework. Better news is you can get extra credit on the homework. It's a 15-point assignment to try and bump your grade, but you can get extra credit on each question depending on how much extra information and effort you put into it. The best news is my goal is that you should be done before you leave my class. So it's not really homework, it should be end of class work. So hopefully you're getting it done as we're going through and reading about Ebola. If you look on there, the questions are on the thing in front of you, so you can click like the different questions and then submit them. If you don't get it done by the end of class, you're going to have to copy and paste and then submit it later. Hopefully that helps you out somewhat from there. And then, let's go to me reading story to you. So we're going to take a look at story thing. Those of you at home, you're going to get a chance to listen to it on that point. I'm going to be reading to you Ebola, similar to coronavirus. For those of you who've been paying attention to the news and CNN and stuff like that, they talk about the whole coronavirus happening from there. Ebola is a little bit different. Corona spreads through the air. Ebola virus does not spread through the air. Ebola has to be spread through bodily fluids. And so we're going to be getting into that today. This is from a book called The Hot Zone, where I actually read it last year after I had to do this one. I found out about the book, so I went ahead and read it, and it was fascinating. And it talked about the very first time Ebola was ever discovered in 1980, and it follows the first guy who had it and what happened to him. Spoiler, he dies horribly, but then it sort of goes on from there. So what we're going to get to here is that first guy who got infected, and we're going to sort of follow him along that journey. Casper.
Why aren't we just doing all this stuff in science?
Because that would be boring. So Ebola is a virus, so it spreads outward. Ebola knowledge is like a virus, and it spreads outward to other classes. So Ebola has infected your other classes. It's a metaphor. Or it's like some kind of cross-curricular thing that they asked me to do. Whatever. All I know is they said, would you do this? I read the story, and I went, yes! And I was excited. Because I figure it's a break from Greek mythology, and as you find out today, it's entertaining. Here are the questions as we go through. 1, when the guy first gets infected, what are the first signs and symptoms that you're going to be looking for? So as you find that out in the story, I would recommend writing them down.
Okay.
I don't care about spelling so much as complete sentences and correct grammar things and stuff like that. 2, we're also going to get to the final stages as he gets to the deathy bits. And deathy bits are definitely different than beginny bits. So you're going to figure out what happens at the final deathy bits. 3, we're going to find out that he tried to go get help from a hospital, but he had to get on an airplane to get there. So he gets on an airplane while completely infected with Ebola. And if you were on an airplane, now that you know what to do, in theory, how could you protect yourself from getting Ebolanized? I think that's a word. 4, a general, because this now impacts the coronavirus also. This virus, Ebola, started in a small town in Africa and then spread everywhere. Coronavirus started in a small town in China and then spread everywhere. What is allowing all of these things to spread so quickly?
Transportation.
There you go. And so the fact that these are not a new thing, these viruses have popped up for thousands of years, is the fact that they pop up and now go everywhere is the new issue. And so that's one of the things to talk about. And the final one, what surprised you in your big, I had no idea moment? Trust me, there's going to be a lot. Buckle up. Let's begin our journey. You should be. No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. So first off, picture of the book I found. So this is the one that this comes from. It's like an excerpt from the very beginning when we find out the guy gets infected, and it sort of follows the stuff from there. If you find it really fascinating, let me know. I have a copy of the book. You're more than welcome to read about Ebola killing people. Yeah.
There's a show, I think.
They're called Ebola? It was like a random statement. Oh, yes. There's actually, it was a TV show that was connected, or a movie that was connected to it. You're correct. The Hot Zone captures the terrifying... Oh, quick also. I found this in the hallway next to the lockers, the last name T. It was just laying in the hallway. It's a Heroes one. So if you brought it today and you can't find yours, I found it. I don't know if it was a kid from those lockers or if you were just walking in the hallway and dropped it, but I know it's one of my kids because it says it's a Heroes one. So I figured I'd bring it in and see who wanted to know. All right. The Hot Zone captures the terrifying true story of an Ebola outbreak that made its way from the jungles of Africa to a research lab just outside of Washington, D.C. In the excerpt below, author Richard Preston describes the symptoms of this deadly virus as they appear in one of its first known human victims. The headache begins typically on the 7th day after exposure to the agent. Quick timeout already. Agent. You know what agent was referring to?
It's the virus.
Yeah, because I had a kid earlier who thought we were involving like secret agents and like spies in it. I'm like, no, there's not like a secret agent spy thing. Agent just means virus. Like, oh, that's not as exciting. Like, just hold on. On the 7th day after his New Year's visit to Kidham Cave, So January 8th, this is all the way back in 1980, Monet felt a throbbing pain behind his eyeballs. He decided to stay home from work and then went to bed in his bungalow. The headache grew worse. His eyeballs ached, and then his temples began to ache, the pain seeming to circle around inside his head. It would not go away with aspirin. And then he got a severe backache. His housekeeper, Johnny, was still on her Christmas vacation, and he recently hired a temporary housekeeper. She tried to take care of him, but she really didn't know what to do. Then, on the third day after his headache started, he became nauseated, spiked a fever, began to vomit. His vomiting grew intense and turned into dry heaves. At the same time, he became strangely passive. His face lost all appearance of life and set itself into an expressionless mask, with the eyeballs fixed, paralytic, and staring. The eyelids were slightly droopy, which gave him a peculiar appearance, as if his eyes were popping out of his head and half closed at the same time. Quick pause. I do have graphic pictures coming at the end of actual Ebola victims, and this is one of the things you will get to see. One of the drawbacks to Ebola is like the fluid in your eyes begins to swell, but the skin around your eyes loses all the muscle tension, which means they sort of fall and then your eyes pop out from it, which is a really sort of spooky zombie-like thing to have, where your eyeballs get big and it sort of makes it The eyeballs themselves seemed almost frozen in their sockets, and they turned bright red. The skin of his face turned yellowish with a brilliant star-like red speckles. He began to look like a zombie. His appearance frightened the temporary housekeeper. She didn't understand the transformation in this man. His personality changed. He became sullen, resentful, angry, and his memories seemed to be blown away. He was not delirious. He could answer questions, although he didn't seem to know exactly where he was. You guys know what delirious means?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, crazy and out of his mind. He was not. He could answer questions. He just felt really, really bad. When Monet failed to show up for work, his colleagues began to wonder about him, and eventually they went to his bungalow to see if he was all right. The black and white crow sat on the roof and watched them as they went inside. They looked at Monet and decided that he needed to get to a hospital. No kidding. Since he was very unwell and no longer even able to drive a car, one of his co-workers drove him to a private hospital in the city of Kisumu on the shore of Lake Victoria. So I have pictures of where this is taking place. So Kisumu is here in Kenya. I believe you guys took a a test in social studies recently, the whole mapping thing. And so this is where it's going to be taking place now on the east side of Africa. To give you a better view of what they're talking about here, here's where Kisumu is. Lake Victoria is this big lake there. And you have like the coast in this direction. In a moment, he's getting ready to go to a hospital, which is down in this area. But the only way to get there is by airplane, because there's no good hospital where he is. So he's going to try and go to the big fancy hospital. The hospital in the city of Kisumu on the shore of Lake Victoria. The doctors at the hospital examined Monet and could not come up with any explanation for what had happened to his eyes, or his face, or his mind. Thinking that he might have some kind of bacterial infection, they gave him injections of antibiotics. But the antibiotics had no effect on his illness. So, antibiotics. What are antibiotics used to get rid of? Bacteria. But what is Ebola? So is antibiotics going to do anything?
No.
So it's like trying to put out a fire by throwing puppies at it. Nothing happens. You can throw all the puppies you want. That's not going to stop the fire. So giving him antibiotics is not going to stop the virus. The doctors thought he should go to Nairobi Hospital, which is the best private hospital in East Africa. The telephone system hardly worked, and it did not seem worth the effort to call any doctors to tell them that he was coming. He could still walk, and he seemed able to travel by himself. He had money, he understood he had to get to Nairobi, and they put him in a taxi to the airport. He boarded a Kenya Airways flight. A hot virus from the rainforest lives within a 24-hour plane flight from every city on Earth. Another quick pause. Hot virus does not mean temperature, nor does it mean that it's trending on TikTok. What does hot mean in a hot virus? Close.
Spreads quickly.
There you go. That it is contagious and spreads quickly. So they're going to refer to it being a hot virus multiple times. Right now, there is a hot virus we're concerned about, which is? There you go. And that is one that is very contagious and spreads quickly. So that's what hot virus means. All of the Earth's cities are connected by a web of airline routes. The web is a network. Once a virus hits the net, it can shoot anywhere in a day. Paris, Tokyo, New York, Los Angeles, Indianapolis, wherever planes fly. Charles Monet and the life form inside of him had entered that net. The plane that he gets on was not super big. It looks about that. They're going to say it seats about 35 people. I have 35 desks in my room. So basically, it would fit about the number of people in this room on that plane. The plane was a Fokker Friendship with propellers, a commuter aircraft that seats 35 people. It started its engines and took off over Lake Victoria, blue and sparkling, dotted with the dugout canoes of fishermen. The Friendship turned and banked eastward, climbing over green hills, quilted with tea plantations and small farms. The commuter flights that drone across Africa are often jammed with people, and this flight was probably full. The plane climbed over belts of forest and clusters of round huts and villages with tin roofs. The land suddenly dropped away, going down in shelves and ravines and changed in color from green to brown. The plane was crossing the eastern Rift Valley. The passengers looked out the windows at the place where the human species was born. They saw specks of huts clustered inside circles of thorn bush, with cattle trails radiating from the huts. The propellers moaned, and the Friendship passed through the cloud streets and lines of puffy ripped clouds and began to bounce and sway. Monet became airsick. So it gives you an idea of the inside of it. This is bigger because that fits. So really this one would only probably go back to about that spot size-wise, but I was trying to find the inside of an airplane to give you the idea. The seats are narrow and jammed together on these commuter airplanes, and you notice everything that is happening inside the cabin. The cabin is tightly closed and the air recirculates. If there are any smells in the air, you perceive them. You would not have been able to ignore the man who was getting sick. He hunches over in his seat. There is nothing wrong with him. There is something wrong with him, but you can't tell exactly what is happening. Now we're going to start getting into the graphic bits because he is now going to be starting to enter the final stages of the whole thing. Before, he was just starting to get sick. Now that they're shipping him over there, it is in the I am getting into the really bad bits. To give you a heads up on Ebola, what I found out from reading the novel. Essentially how Ebola works, the virus liquefies your insides. Once it goes in there and gets into your organs, it tries to turn your organs basically into a putty paste. Once it has turned your organs into a putty paste, it then tries to get your organs outside of your body. And it does whatever it can to get all of your insides into the outsides. So that's what's going to be happening on this next part, is his body is going to be trying to expel all the stuff that is inside of him, including organy bits. He is holding an air sickness bag over his mouth. He coughs a deep cough and regurgitates something into the bag. The bag swells up. Perhaps he glances around, and then you see that his lips are smeared with something slippery and red, mixed with black specks, as if he has been chewing on coffee grounds. His eyes are the color of rubies, and his face is an expressionless mass of bruises. Quick pause on both of those. One, the red on his lips, easy to figure out. That's going to be? Blood. Now, the first thought is the blood comes from his stomach, which is where it initially does come from. But we're going to find out it's also from his lungs liquefying. And a lot of that blood that is coming up is blood from his lungs. The black bits we're getting to are going to be two things combined. One, blood clots, which we're going to be talking more about in a second, which is what, whenever you get a nosebleed and you want your nose to stop bleeding, you like the pinchy pinch thing and the holy head thing, like the ice on it too. That is because you want your nose to stop bleeding. To make that happen, you want it to clot, which is like blood glue that your body generates. But the problem here is that his body can't generate enough of it, so he's spitting out little bits of it. The other thing that he's spitting out is bits of his lungs. because as they are melting, that is what is coming up. Don't worry, it gets worse. And the reason his eyes are turning red, all the blood vessels in his eyes are starting to burst, and so the eyes actually go from white to like crazy zombie red, and they will turn all red in there as from there. All right.
Will he go blind?
Yeah, eventually. You can still see, it's just eventually that we'll find out in a moment. Seeing is not going to be a worry of his in the moment. The red spots, which a few days before had started out as star-like speckles, have expanded and merged into huge, spontaneous purple shadows. His whole head is turning black and blue. The muscles of his face droop. The connective tissue in his face is dissolving. And his face appears to hang from the underlying bone, as if the face is detaching itself from the skull. He opens his mouth and gasps into the bag, and the vomiting goes on endlessly. It will not stop, and he keeps bringing up liquid, long after his stomach should have been empty. How can he keep puking after his stomach is empty?
It isn't from his stomach.
It isn't from his stomach. The air sickness bag fills up to the brim with a substance known as the vomito negro, or the black vomit. The black vomit is not really black. It is a speckled liquid of two colors, black and red. A stew of tarry granules mixed with fresh red arterial blood. It is hemorrhage, and it smells like a slaughterhouse. You know what a slaughterhouse is?
Yeah.
There you go, where they kill animals and stuff like that. So that's basically what the inside of the plane is beginning to smell like. The black vomit is loaded with virus. It is highly infective, lethally hot, hot meaning, nice and made, a liquid that would scare the daylights out of a military biohazard specialist. The smell of the vomito negro fills the passenger cabin. The air sickness bag is brimming with black vomit. So Monet closes the bag and rolls up the top. The bag is bulging and softening, threatening to leak, and he hands it to a flight attendant. Well, you don't want him to put it back inside the little pocket in front. You have to put it...
She just killed somebody.
You can't open a window on an airplane.
He just committed manslaughter.
Solid thought. When a hot virus multiplies in a host, it can saturate the body with virus particles, from the brain to the skin. The military experts then say that the virus has undergone extreme amplification. This is not something like the common cold. By the time an extreme amplification peaks out, an eyedropper of the victim's blood may contain 100 million particles. So again, eyedropper, one drop of their blood can have 100 million particles of the Ebola virus. It only takes a couple of them to infect you. In other words, the host is possessed by a life form that is attempting to convert the host into itself. The transformation is not entirely successful, however, and the end result is a great deal of liquefying flesh mixed with virus, a kind of biological accident. Extreme amplification has occurred in Monet, and the sign of it is the black vomit. So, again, a quick timeout. Essentially, what Ebola tries to do is it tries to turn you into Ebola. And so the only way to do that is that your organs are standing in the way. So it tries to get rid of your organs to turn you into virus. So that's why it liquefies your organs and then tries to get rid of them as it tries to turn you into a virus. If you could, in theory, live long enough, you would turn into an Ebola strain. But the problem is it kills you in the process because it's not very good at its job. The other thing Ebola wants to do is it really wants to infect other people. That's how it spreads. And it realizes that it's trapped inside of you. So the Ebola wants to get to other people. So how does Ebola get to other people? There you go. And so it will find any way to escape from you. So one will be vomiting. We're going to find out in a moment it is also going to cause blood to come out of any hole in you that it can find. Because then the blood comes out, that is how it spreads to other people. Now, good news is, Ebola does not spread through the air. If there was someone sitting in here with Ebola, and they're like, ha, 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 you're not going to get sick from it. They'd probably have some pretty stank breath, but they're not going to infect you. It's more they have to touch you with bodily fluids, which is usually blood or the vomito negro, because again, kersplashy. All right, don't worry, we're not done yet. Yes. Absolutely. Now, it might not be as bad as the blood, but it'll absolutely contain some of it too. He appears to be holding himself rigid, as if any movement would rupture something inside of him. His blood is clotting up. And we're going to talk about blood clots in just a moment. And his bloodstream is throwing clots, and the clots are lodging everywhere. His liver, kidneys, lungs, hands, feet, and head are becoming jammed with blood clots. In effect, he is having a stroke through the whole body. Clots are accumulating in his intestinal muscles, cutting off the blood supply to his intestines. The intestinal muscles are beginning to die, and the intestines are starting to go slack. He doesn't seem to be fully aware of pain any longer because the blood clots lodged in his brain are cutting off blood flow. His personality is being wiped away by brain damage. This is called depersonalization, in which the liveliness and details of character seem to vanish. He is becoming an automaton, in other words, a robot or a zombie. Tiny spots in his brain are liquefying. The higher functions of consciousness are winking out first, leaving the deeper parts of the brainstem, the primitive rat brain, the lizard brain, still alive and functioning. It could be said that the who of Charles Monet has already died, while the what of Charles Monet continues to live. Couple fascinating things on this one. One, blood clots. As I mentioned before, blood clots are good. If you get a cut on your hand or you get a bloody nose, you want blood clots, because that is essentially a blood glue that your body generates, and it sends it to any cut or hole in you to seal it up. That's like whenever you get a cut and you put a Band-Aid on it, and then you pull that off, you have like the gooey red stuff. That's good. That's the healing process. So blood clots, good. Problem with Ebola is your body senses the fact that there's issues everywhere. So it hits like the emergency button and just goes, blood clots, and sends them everywhere. But the issue with that is you don't have open wounds to send it to. So those blood clots are just going all throughout your body, and they start getting lodged in all of your veins and arteries. And a lot of them get lodged in your brain. So what happens is you start getting brain death from Ebola, and it starts cutting off your brain stuff and giving you brain damage. You'll still be able to function, like you can respond to things, but you lose the ability to speak, you lose the ability to think. If someone says, hey, touch your nose, you'll be able to go, because it's a general reaction that your body can do. But you will not be able to answer questions because that part of your brain has now died off. So that's one of the issues that they have from it, the blood clots, and then you have the whole shutting down of the brain. So the idea of, do you go blind from it? Yes, but you also no longer care. So the bad news is you're dying. The good news is you're no longer aware that you're dying, but the bad news is you're turning into a zombie and you're starting to infect other people. Yeah.
So I watch a lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
And so basically what you're saying is like the brain, like the a virus, it cuts off like the parts of like the parts of the brain that controls personality and
Yeah, those go first.
pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the good news is you don't really feel pain anymore, but the bad news is you can't come back from it.
Wait.
Yeah.
What about those anti-vaxxer kids?
Oh, they're fine. Jillian.
So wait, like scabs or like dried blood clots?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wait. So basically, at that point, you could just like punch him in the face and he wouldn't feel anything.
He wouldn't really react to it a whole lot, no. So, but then again, you'd also be punching a person covered in hot Ebola virus. Hang on, let me finish it. I'll answer questions because I want to make sure you guys have time to answer questions. The vomiting attack appears to have broken some. Oh yeah, we're not done with stuff. Appears to have broken some blood vessels in his nose, and he gets a nosebleed. The blood comes from both nostrils, a shining, clotless arterial liquid that drips over his teeth and chin. Because at this point, your body has no more clot left in it. So now when you start to bleed, there's nothing to stop it from bleeding. So now when you start bleeding from all the different holes in your body, there's nothing to stop it from happening. This blood keeps running because the clotting factors have been used up. A flight attendant gives him some paper towels, which he uses to stop up his nose.
What?
But they don't know what to do. But the
Some
blood
paper towels
still
dying,
won't
man.
coagulate, and the towels just soak straight through.
Paper towels.
Now, when a man is ill in an airline seat next to you, you may not want to embarrass him by calling attention to the problem. You say to yourself that this man will be all right. Maybe he doesn't travel well in airplanes. He's airsick, apparently. And the people do get nosebleeds in airplanes. The air is so dry and thin. You ask him weakly, if there's anything you can do to help. He doesn't answer, or he just mumbles words you can't understand because, zombie brain going on. So you just try to ignore it, but the flight seems to go on forever. Perhaps the flight attendants offer to help him, but victims of this type of hot virus have changes in behavior that can render them incapable of responding to any offer of help. They become hostile, don't want to be touched. They don't want to speak. They answer questions with grunts or monosyllables. They can't seem to find words. They can tell you their name, but they can't tell you the day of the week or explain what has happened to them. That is end of story, but not end of stuff yet. 1, don't get distracted because you still have to answer questions. If you don't get done here, it becomes homework. Those of you who don't want to see graphic-y things, you're going to focus on your iPad screen for a moment. So with the bleeding out, this is from a movie they made that was connected to it with the ideas that they got infected. The bleeding happens. You start bleeding from nose, from eyes, from ears, and there's nothing to stop it. Now, this one's a movie version. The next one screen I have is actual people with Ebola. So here's the actual Ebola people who then got infected. The things you see here, these giant blisters that happen with it, is one of the side effects of Ebola also. Because of the whole not being able to blood clot, a lot of them would get blisters. We sort of get like a bubble in the skin. Normally when you get a blister, the blood clot goes there and stops it from getting too big. With Ebola, there is no blood clot. So you have these blisters that just start to fill with blood, and they just start to stretch and expand the skin. The idea being is that the Ebola wants to do that because then it'll pop and then spray the blood everywhere, thus infecting other people. Then you get the same thing. You get what's basically zombie mouth, and the whole mouth turns red because blood vessels in there. Same thing with the eyeballs. I told you the whole swelling eyeball thing. That's the swelling eyeball thing that happens up there. Or your eyeballs just turn all completely red from the side effects from it. Pictures are now gone for those of you who need to look up. So those of you who are interested, because some people dig the sciencey bits, wanted to show you the sciencey bits. So now back to questioning things from there to try and help you as you go through. I figure 1 and 2 you can probably figure out without too much issue. 3, on that one, Ebola is not like coronavirus. I'm pretty sure Melanie has talked to you about the idea of people wearing the mask to protect themselves. Does the mask help?
No.
Why?
Because it can get out the horn.
Yeah. Now, it helps you if you're sick, because when you go akapachoo and you spit the big old snot bibbles everywhere, it'll stop that from happening, but it does not stop them from coming in towards you. But Ebola was different because Ebola is not airborne. Ebola virus was too large. It had to be some kind of liquid that would contain it. So if you were on an airplane, how would you protect yourself from him? Spencer?
I'd use the bathroom.
Now instead of you using the bathroom, what could you do instead?
Tell him to use the restroom.
And you could put him in the bathroom and shut the door. But if you can't, let's say someone already beat you to the bathroom and he's not in the bathroom, what else would you be able to
Jump.
do?
So there's 2 things. So I'd probably ask like the flight attendant, can I go sit somewhere else, like far away from him? Or I'd get a parachute and jump out the window.
If it helps,
Parachutes are for the weak.
it's simpler than that. Those of you who have hoodie, all you have to do is prevent any of the liquid from touching you. So as long as you can find a way to yank and you can protect yourself that way, that protects you from Ebola. Because Ebola, as long as you have yourself covered and you have like your little eye holes and you pull sleeves down over your hands, you're good. That's all it takes to really protect you from the Ebola. Now, coronavirus, it just laughs at that. It's like, haha, I got you, and comes at you. But Ebola, you just have to prevent the liquids from hitting you. Tig?
So,
For those of you still working, you still have 3 minutes.
Would it be like if you throw a tomato outside and leave it there for weeks and then you squish it?
Something like that.
Feel like you punch in the face.
Probably. That's not a thing I want to think about, but sure, if you want to use your imagination in that direction, I'm not one to stop you. Stephanie?
So couldn't you like just get far? Like if I was me, I'd just stand up, like I believe. Like if I was next to him, I'd probably even like stand in, like sit in the line thing that they have like the aisleway, far away from him. I wouldn't switch seats necessarily, but I wouldn't.
Well, one, if it was a full flight, switching seats might not do any
Yeah,
good.
so you could just sit in the aisle.
Oh, by the way, since the story I just read you, it was the first time they'd ever seen this. That guy in the story, he did, because he was the first one. The problem was they didn't know what was going on with him. So he also infected a whole bunch of doctors, because the doctors had no idea what it was they were dealing with. So they spent a lot of time working on him, trying to heal him, not knowing that he was already past the getting help. Also with Ebola, you can not die from it. If you get help early on before the symptoms get bad and they give you enough liquid, then you keep yourself hydrated, your body can heal itself from Ebola. It's not like once you get it, you're dead. It was once you get it and you know you have it and you get enough blood transfusions and you get enough liquid into you, you can survive it. So it was not fatal for everybody. In the book, when I was reading it, there were a number of people who got infected and survived. So it was not necessarily lethal. It was not necessarily fatal, to bring in some Greek mythology for you. Tig?
Oh, did they survive with like scars and stuff?
Not always. I mean, some of them probably would, but not necessarily all of them. If you got to the point where, like on that previous screen, you're not coming back. You had to get help before you started showing that. If you got to like the black vomit stuff, don't worry about it. You had to be back like when you first started having headaches and stuff like that. Then you got help, you'd have a chance. Yeah, but once you get to your body being liquefied part, there's no amount of putting extra goo in you that was going to change that. Yes. He did, and that's when he infected a bunch of doctors. Because they were, at the time, they didn't have like good medical stuff, so like using bare hands and stuff like that, trying to help them out. So, yeah. If you did not finish, make sure you copy and paste those somewhere. Because I will be closing this out for a 5th period, which will wipe you out.
Doctors in the